It's Thursday night, it's 6 p.m. Super League Round 4 is just 2 hours away. It's time for the Captain's Run. On tonight's show, Wakefield Trinity are ready to cook up a treat as Mason Lino returns against Hull FC at the DIY Kitchen Stadium, where only victory really matters. Then on Friday, old friends collide as Paul Vaughan leads the York Knights into battle against his former side, the Warrington Wolves, under the bright lights. This one should be epic. At the Leopards Den, the leap is getting smaller, and as we all know, real fire comes from dragons, not pyrotechnics. This one will be very interesting indeed. On Saturday, it's over to the BrewDog Stadium, where the improving Saints take on an old foe in new clothing. It's time to renew a famous old rivalry in Super League. At the same time, the almighty Wigan Warriors, in fearsome form, travel to Toulouse Olympic to take on Sylvain Houlez's soldiers. Can the unthinkable happen in France? Sunday sees the return of the Vegas Heroes to Headingley as the Leeds Rhinos welcome Yorkshire rivals, the Castleford Tigers, who may not be as excited as we are that it's Maika Sivo Part 3. And finally, Sunday sees a special package arrive in Huddersfield from America. Are the Robins to be uncaged to an almighty return to Super League and put the Giants even more in a spin? In-depth analysis, passionate debate and round 4 predictions. It's time for the Captain's Run. It is indeed time for the Captain's Run, 6 p.m. Thursday. If you're listening to us on the way to the Wakey game, apologies for those who are watching. Of course, it's not at the MKM, it's at Wakey. That's my fault. But yes, for those who are going to the Wakey Hull FC game, thank you very much indeed for listening in the car on Apple and Spotify. And hopefully we've got quite a few that are watching on YouTube. Just 2 hours away to round 4 kicking off this evening. Of course, that great game down there at DIY. As you can see, no Steph this week. He is disposed. However, we have got from Vegas all the way home, Baz at Kingston, Hull KR. Hello, Baz.
Hey, Dave. Good evening. Fraser, all right, fella?
Yes, and Fraser Howard is with us as well. Leeds Rhinos. Hello, Fraser.
Good evening, guys. Nice to be with you for once on a Thursday.
Absolutely, couldn't agree with you more. And we're going to go in reverse order for these games. So we're going to actually start with the Sunday game. We're going to start with the game at Huddersfield. This little beauty, of course, it is the Giants taking on the Robins. The Robins, of course, coming back from Vegas, lads. With maybe plucked a couple of feathers, who knows. You were both there at Vegas, Baz. A great occasion, but you must have been pinching yourself in terms of what you saw the Robins cook up for you, mate.
Yeah, it was the whole experience of Las Vegas was incredible. You know, memories that I lost a lifetime. But the pinch yourself moment was what actually happened. Like it was devastating from a KR perspective, but. We'll put that to bed. We'll go again. We'll learn from it. And hopefully this is the game where we bounce back, Dave.
Fraser, how frightened would you be if you were a Huddersfield Giants fan with KR coming back after that bruising defeat?
I'd be pretty frightened. Obviously, looking at the games prior to going to Vegas, you'd always mark this one down as a better time for Giants to play them, maybe. But I can't imagine there's going to be many changes to that side, and Peter's going to say, I don't care how tired you are, you go out there and prove yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Huddersfield are continuing to have major problems in terms of their personnel, what they can put on the field. Of course, those squads will be coming out tomorrow at approximately 12 o'clock, so keep your eye out for the teams to come out. But here's one for you guys. Well, I think everybody expects KR to win this, and I'm sorry, Huddersfield Giants fans, but, if you just can't see it going any other way. Even if they both play as bad as they did last week, you can't see it going another way. But this might surprise you, Baz. I'm putting a graphic up now on the screen for the purposes of the podcast. I'm going to walk people through this. I've actually compared and contrasted the Giants and the Robins' performance last week. Now, of course, the Robins were up against, people would say stronger opposition in Leeds, but it really is interesting when you put their performances side by side in round 3. It's unbelievable. So I'm going to go through this with you. In terms of the Giants, they scored 2 tries to the Robins 1. Possession stats, the Giants 45% at Cas, 42% for the Robins in Vegas. Completion rates, Huddersfield 68, the Robins 70%. Play the balls in the other in the opposition's 20. 35 for the Giants. They did that quite well. They just didn't convert. Only 20 for the Robins. Both the Giants and the Robins got 18 busts. The Giants got 2 busts, 2 breaks. The Robins got 3 breaks against Leeds in Vegas. Look at the missed tackles. 36 missed tackles at the one ball for the Giants. 51 missed tackles for the Robins in Vegas. It's just frightening statistics, this, if you're a Robins fan. Errors, 14 Giants, 11 Robins. Pens, 6-5. 1 yellow, of course, for the Giants last week. The meters, the Giants only making 1,298 at the one ball, 1,000 meters only for the free-flowing Robins. That, again, will take Bazza and everybody by surprise, I'm sure. Post-contact meters, 414 for the Giants, only 340 for the Robins, well down again. Of course, 13 plays 14. If you'd have had KR bottom of the league after 3 rounds, of course, they've only played 2. And then we come to the odds, which, again, is quite surprising, really. Well, not surprising. Of course, KR very much favourites at 1-9, 11-2 for the Giants. Bazzy, you might not have seen those stats in that detail. And, of course, to compare them to Huddersfield in that way, it does go to show how poorly both sides plays, but probably more so the team that's got 4 trophies in the cabinet.
Yeah, it really does. And some of them stats, Dave, when we was in the Allegiant Stadium, there was actually popping up on the display, and I was just watching the missed tackle count going up like the bloody minutes of the game. It was that bad, and I think that's the biggest concern for me, because Willie Peters, as we know under his era at Old Kingston Rovers, he prides himself on defeat and the work ethic for each other. So to have that many missed tackles is quite alarming. And I know Peterico, he missed quite a lot on that day. So I'm sure he'll be wanting to put a few wrongs right. I think at the moment, we're showing Huddersfield a little bit too disrespect, because there is actually a team there who can literally turn anyone over on the day. And me personally, I'm slightly fearful, because everyone's talking about an Old Kingston Rovers backlash, but what about an Huddersfield backlash? Luke Robinson's under pressure at the moment, and I'm sure he's going to be wanting to put a few wrongs right going into this game. So I think it's quite fascinating. It's very disappointing from a KR perspective, but looking at them stats again, I didn't see the Huddersfield Castleford game, but again, Castleford they won't roll over and have the belly tickled as well. So maybe Castleford could be complimented to making Huddersfield play that poorly, with the stats you've got up on screen there. But I think it's going to be an absolutely fascinating game, and it's going to kickstart one of the 2 teams this season. I'd like to hope, anyway, it's Old Kingston Rovers.
Yeah, I mean, look, Castleford and Leeds both did the job very, very well indeed. I mean, look, Fraser, I get Bazzy's point. He's KR fan. He's not going to talk Giants down. He's got to go and get the W, and I get that. But we're talking about the Robins. They've got pedigree. At the end of the day, they were exceptional last year. The Giants have had 2 bad seasons now, and in terms of form and the way in which they're playing, it's been very difficult for them with all of the absentees. And it's for that reason, and that reason alone, that you would expect a champion team, if they've got ambitions of going again. It's only round 2. Well, it's round 3 for them, isn't it? If they've got ambitions of going again, this is where now they silence the critics. They come back, they put Vegas behind them, and they get a big win.
Yeah, I can understand from Baz's point of view. Obviously, after what happened last week, you don't want to be going into this one overconfident, because it's clearly not a nice feeling when it goes wrong. But what's interesting, I think, it's interesting when you look at the stats. Unfortunately, given last year, they're stats that you would put with bottom 2 sides. But it is only round 3 for KR, and you'd imagine halfway through the season, if you bump them all back together again, these stats will fade into the distance. And yeah, given if Giants had a full team out, I'd be going into it saying there's a 50-50 chance after the last few weeks of what's gone on. But yeah, I can't see. I mean, I think they'll be struggling to put a full 17 out, maybe, by the sounds of things at Giants. It's that bad. So whether they even manage to get all the numbers on there for a start, I just don't think they'll be able. They might get up and have a bit of energy for Luke, but I just don't think there's personnel there enough to shock anyone.
No, I mean, look, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go KR by 28. What are you going, Baz?
I'm going to go KR bar 10. And do you know what, Dave? Even if it was bar 2, I'd take it right now, this moment in time.
Good man. Fraser, what are you going?
I've got them by 22 on my predictions.
22.
KR, that is.
So I've gone bigger. At 28. So anyway, there you go. We'll have to see. Speaking of course, competitions here at Super League Raw, let's have a quick check-in before we go to the next game in terms of the Fantasy League. And congratulations to Catherine Deering, Hull FC fan. All hail Caesar. She best on the week and still at number one. A very good lead as well, 2,154 points in our Fantasy League. Leeds Rhinos, Matthew Birch, 1,987. House of Noise, Tony Pennington, 1985. Good year, that. SL3, Sam Cook, 1983. That's his points. And Brothers in Arms, great Dire Straits tune. That Stuart Scaife, 1,945 points. So very, very well done indeed to Catherine, still leading the Fantasy League. If you're playing the Fantasy League, the official Fantasy League, then why not join the Super League Raw League as well? All you've got to do is find Super League Raw 26, put the pin number in 12378, and the password is capital S, small L, capital R, hashtag 2026, and you can come and have some fun with the boys. But well done to Catherine. Right, we go now to Fraser's team. Yes, it's Sivo Part 3. I'm telling you, we're all looking forward to this one. This one is going to be, or should be, a little belter without doubt. We've still, of course, to hear the team news with regards to this. But one thing is for certain, we could be in for a right treat, gentlemen, because Maika Sivo is going to be going up against Michaeli Ravalawa. And I caught up with Ryan Carr to talk about that little matchup, and he's looking forward to it too. Afternoon, Ryan. How are you? You well?
Yep, I'm good, thanks, David. How you going?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Obviously, two teams coming into this, both having lost the first two games. Is this going to be about getting the basics right on when you face Huddersfield in terms of? Obviously, that is not the right one, so we'll get the right one up. I do apologise for that, but while we're doing so, Bazza, Maika Sivo, he was unplayable, wasn't he, in Vegas?
It was, and he really showed his worth to the Leeds Rhinos after such a horrific 2025 injury hit year for him, and I think he repaid the Rhinos faithful in numbers. It was a different animal. I've seen a lot of people compare him to the great Leslie Vanacolo, and I can see it. I genuinely can see it, and I don't want to put my own team down too much, but I think we'll see a proper Maika Sivo when he comes up against some stiffer competition who don't drop off tackles. And I never thought I'd say that about my own club, but yeah, he's a great winger. And when with people saying that he's lost a yard of pace, it didn't look like that to me in the stadium. The kid could move. I mean, he kept on Davis on his toes, you know. So yeah, it's a frightening prospect for any edge to come up against that guy. Yeah, he's a great asset for the Leeds Rhinos.
And again, you know, Fraser, if the Leeds Rhinos come back and they play as well as they did against the Hull KR in Vegas, you would expect a Leeds win if they were playing in terms of that level of form and quality. But I have to say, in terms of this battle, I've put it there, the irresistible force meets the immovable object, a good wrestling phrase from yesteryear. But this, you've got to find narratives in a game where people expect the Rhinos to win and to win well. Again, Tigers are under so much pressure. Fletcher Rooney, of course, has gone down this week as well. You've got to look for narratives. You've got to look for reasons to watch the game. And if there's ever a reason for me to watch this game, it's this one. Sivo against Ravalawa. Going through the stats for the people listening on the podcast, try 6-1 in Sivo's favour. Incredible. No assists for either player. Sivo's got 7 breaks to Ravalawa's 2. Busts, 14 for Sivo, 10 for Ravalawa. Carries, 26 for Sivo, 284 metres, averaging 10.9 metres a carry. That is absolutely incredible. Ravalawa, not bad, carrying the ball more, 45 times for 298 metres, 6.6 metres a carry. For me, I just hope that the Wakefield Stadium, the Headingley is reinforced, because this could shake the stands, couldn't it? This one.
Yeah, I feel sorry for corner flags on Sunday, definitely. I was thinking about this on the plane back over yesterday, to be fair, or was it yesterday? I don't know which timings. And it's an interesting one. I mean, looking at them stats, you'd probably say, I'm going to get it wrong now, on a Ravalawa. He's probably having to do a little bit more work out of backfield for Castleford by the looks of how many carries he's having to take, doing similar meters, but he's doubling the carries, isn't he? So he's having to do a bit more work, which might be explanative to the way he's been dropping the ball, bit concentration in tiredness. But he's now on, is he 4 games in, and his fitness is getting better every week. So given where Sivo is on Brad Arthur's fitness scale, hopefully Castleford don't have to use him as much, and we can really see a battle down the side between them two.
Well, like I say, Ryan Carr's really looking forward to this. I think I've got the right one. Here we go. Afternoon, Ryan. You okay?
Good, mate. Good. How you going?
Yeah, very well indeed. One of the matchups that I'm really looking forward to seeing is Sivo against McKaylee. That has got all the makings of being a great tussle on that edge, hasn't it?
Yeah, two powerful players. I've coached both of them back home, and they have had some really good battles in the past. And yeah, he started the season really well, Maika. So yeah, it's he's a handful. We're going to have, like I said, honestly, you can say that about their whole team, but they've got threats all over the park. So yeah, we'll be counting on Raver to do his job.
Absolutely. And Tom Weaver's developing lovely, isn't he? On week, you must be delighted with his progress.
Yeah, really happy with his progress. I think he's grabbed the team and trying to make it his own, which is what we wanted from him. And on the weekend to see him scoring a few tries and playing some really confident attacking style is something I'm really pleased about, because I just want him to continue to grow in confidence and believe in himself as much as I believe in him, which he will, and we'll see the best version of him week in, week out over here, which is good.
Well, congratulations on your first win. Go well at the weekend. All the best.
Thanks, mate.
So like I say, he's looking forward to that battle as well, as are we. Tom Weaver did have a better game for Castleford last week. He's progressing nicely. And Bazza, those type of players, the Tom Weavers, if they're going to get anything out of this game at Headingley, they're the players that have really got to stand up, and they've got to control this game, because otherwise, if Connor and Brodie Croft, I mean, Croft is again unplayable against KI, if those two are allowed to dictate with Miller, it's big problems, isn't it, for Castleford?
It is big problems, and I think a lot of people are missing Leeds' pack. You know, there's a lot of discussion of Brodie Croft and Jake Connor, and quite rightly so, because we saw Brodie Croft arguably one of his best games in the Leeds Rhinos yet in Las Vegas. So they are going to dictate things, but it's that forward pack that lay the platform for them, and they're unstoppable. And when you've got the likes of Maika Sivo, who acts like a prop when he's running it back in the middle, along with Ryan Hall, they've just got strike power and weight all across the park. So it's going to be a testing time for Castleford. I don't believe Leeds will take any complacency. We saw firsthand how well the prep going to Vegas. You know, a lot of people said about the travel. Will OKR or Leeds struggled, you know, coming on from Vegas with the travel, but I think Leeds' mindset, they're very focused, and I think that'll stand them in good stead, because they will not take this game lightly. They will approach it like they approached last week, and it could be fearful for Castleford. But on the flip side, Castleford have got that monkey off the back. They've got that first victory, so they could give Leeds a few problems. I certainly can't see no Vegas hangover for the Leeds Rhinos. Definitely not. But it's how Castleford deal with it. You know, everyone's talking about Leeds, but Castleford have got their own strike rate amongst themselves. So it's a game where anything could happen. You know, if Cass get the rub of the green, they could really take the game to Leeds and shock them. But I'd expect Leeds to be very professional going into this, just like there was in Las Vegas, going about the business very quietly and just getting the job done. And at the moment, Leeds are absolutely frightening the way they looked in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll get your prediction now, Fraser. But before we do, one thing that you do need to be mindful of as a Leeds Rhinos fan is that they've actually put 62 points on the board this year, Castleford Tigers. So it's, and when you consider that, the only ones who've done better than that are the Warriors, the Rhinos, Saints, and the Bulls. The rest of Super League have not scored that. I mean, the fifth highest scorers. So going forward hasn't been the problem. The problem is they've conceded 58. That's where the problem lies. So on that basis, I've tried to give you a degree of caution before you give me your prediction. Your thoughts, mate?
No, I have been a little bit cautious. Obviously, a little bit on selection. I'm not sure how it'll go, and it'll probably show Brad Arthur's intentions. We've got Jack Bird is a new signing waiting in the wings. Ash Hanley needs his minutes. Newman played every game last season, so he's not one that you drop out just on a whim. So it'll show intentions of Brad. KR did the same last year, went from winning trophy straight to a full team the next week, and momentum was built. So I think that'll show what we want to do this year if he goes with the full strength. I've gone by 10 just out of caution because the back end of the game we might start to leak a few or just not run as strong given the travel. So
fair enough. Bazzy, your call on this one?
Very much like Fraser, without seeing the squads, I'd expect Brad Arthur to take this incredibly seriously. And I don't want to be not put no disrespect on Castleford after a great win at the weekend, but I'm going to have to go Leeds by 16. And again, it could anything could happen in that game, especially if Leeds turn up like they did against LKR.
Well, let's give a couple of raps. I mean, look, Ryan Hall got his 350th try in Vegas, but he gets another one at the weekend. He's now on 250 for Leeds. So that's another milestone that he could achieve in 2 weeks. Ash Hanley, 12 points off 500 in Super League. Unlikely to get that this weekend, but you never know. You never know. He could go and bag himself a hat-trick. And Joe Westerman, boys, 400 Super League appearances. I'll say that again, 400. That is some going. So big congratulations to Joe. We hope he enjoys it. But yeah, like I say, you fear a little bit here for Castleford, I have to say. The very best of luck to them. Right, let's move to the Saturday games. And this one, of course, in Toulouse. Toulouse, of course, 2 wins from 2, went down to Bradford last week. As for the Wigan Warriors, every week they have been getting progressively stronger. They've been incredibly strong, very powerful running. Scoring tries. Fraser, it's fair to say that, off the back of last season, it couldn't have really got off to a better start for Wigan in terms of momentum and laying an early, nothing's won in February, I said that on Weekly, but 6 points from 3, laying down a marker already, would you say?
yeah, I'd say so. I mean, obviously not a Wigan fan, but I can imagine Wigan fans and maybe Wigan as a team are sort of sat there going, finished second, had a reasonable season, and everyone's telling us how bad we did. So let's go out there and show them what a proper Wigan team's all about. So yeah, I think they are laying a marker down and showing or reminding everybody that they can win in style, not just grind out games. Going forward through the season, you could only see Wigan improving on that. There's not any wholesale changes in the team or anything that would unsettle a team going down the line. It's only going to get stronger and more together, you'd say.
Yeah, I mean, Baz, look, you saw Leeds did to you what you did to Broncos in the first half of the World Club Championship. So we've seen in Leeds last week against good opposition in KR that on their day they can come punch hard and really score some very, very nice tries indeed. And we're seeing exactly the same from Wigan, aren't we? We're seeing a Wigan side that on the edges look, not just down the middle, but on the edges. And Semble looks back in the group. I think Walters to second row is a masterstroke in terms of giving a little bit of size and power on that edge as well. As potentially your biggest rivals for the title, because as the defending champions, your thoughts on Wigan?
I think they're a different beast this year. I think very much like I speak about Leeds, I feel like Wigan have gone around about the business very quietly, a little bit under the radar. They had a bit of under there, how they see things, a bit of a disappointing 2025, if you could say that. But I feel like the first 3 rounds, they're unstoppable. And throughout Super League, you know, Wigan could be guilty of starting a little bit slow, maybe lose the first game, but we're not seeing that. We're seeing Junior and Semba like in the form of 2024, and you know, people questioning his 2025 campaign that it wasn't quite as good, but his stats proved otherwise. That it was incredible in 2025, but I feel like this year, I know it's only 3 rounds in, it just looks a different animal in that second row, and Wigan are, for me, still the benchmark, and the way they're going about the business and the way they're putting teams to the sword. We saw what they did to the Leopards at the weekend, and you know, that was very much like a Leeds Rhinos. There was ruthless, and that's what championship sides do. That's what you champions do. Yeah. And yeah, I don't want to discredit Toulouse because they've been a breath of fresh air for Super League, and Ashall Bott at fullback. It's been phenomenal, but I think the way Wigan are right now, they're just going about the business quietly, and they're absolutely destroying teams. They're out. You sense that they've set themselves little goals, what they're keeping in house, and they're just putting teams to the sword. I mean, we're missing Jai Field this week, but I don't think that'll be enough to hinder Wigan because yeah, they're an outstanding outfit.
Yeah, you're quite right. I mean, Wigan are doing it tough as well. I mean, there's a few teams that are doing it tough at this moment in time. But yeah, Jai Field out with appendicitis. He's going to be out for a few weeks. Of course, we know that Jake Wardle's out for a period of time as well. So they are missing a couple of backs there. We know that Liam Fowler has been deputising in those areas. There's no doubt that we're probably going to see some of the emerging talent of Wigan. Noah Hodgkinson potentially could come in at full back. Nathan Lowe, of course, could maybe come into Taylor Kerr as well. So it could be that we're seeing one of those youngsters starting for Wigan in Toulouse. And as we saw last year, when the youngsters have come through, they've all done really well, haven't they, Fraser? So I for one, if Matt Peake does decide to go with one of those youngsters, I wish them well, and I'll be very interested to see how they go in Super League.
Yeah, I'd like to think he does go with one of them younger players. I know Faramond is younger, and you could put him into the halves and shift French back there maybe or something like that. But given that they've got no other people to shoehorn in, I would like to think that he picks a young player that plays that position and puts them in there and says, have a go in France. Here's your opportunity. It's a great one for you. And Eckersley can probably slot in there, but he's doing well where he is. So let's just keep it the same and like they have done for the past few years, just slot someone in and help they slot in well. I mean, Toulouse probably gonna struggle to get forward, and it looks like they struggled with that. Bradford obviously held them out for only one last week, so I wouldn't necessarily worry about them flying through and having 2-on-1 opportunities against a fullback or anything like that, really. So,
yeah, I mean, look, Bazza, I don't think this would happen. An option that Matt Peake has got would be to put Bevan French back to fullback to allow Eckersley to remain in centre, bring maybe a Hodgkinson or a Lowe on the wing, put them out on the wing for this game, and bring in Jack Farriman. That could be something he does.
It could, but you don't want to disrupt your span so much. And the way that span's been working really well, I think it'll be the perfect opportunity for Matt Peake to give one of the young lads a run out. And he's always got the backup there of dropping Bevan French to fall back during the game if things aren't quite going to plan, because we've seen that, you know, a settled span and whatnot can be devastating. I think currently with Harry Smith and Bevan French and the halves, they've been formidable. We've seen Harry Smith, you know, is being arguably the best standoff in Super League this year. So I wouldn't want to settle that too much. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Matt does, and if he does give one of the young lads a crack at fullback, because it's a perfect opportunity. And we've seen with like the likes of Warrington with Taylor Ray on effing an absolute gem there at fullback. It could be an opportunity for Wigan. You know, we could see prospects of the future.
Well, let's hope that we do. I love seeing young talent giving its head, and of course Wigan have done that time and time again. through the years. But yeah, I mean, look, from a Toulouse, you're right. We've got to give them a lot of credit, and of course the travel comes into this, and it does. Travel comes into the preparations. We heard, only a couple of weeks ago. When Toulouse won that second game, Castleford Tigers said that they got their travel plans all wrong, and they need to learn from that. So, like I say, the travel comes into it because there's no direct flight into Toulouse. It's going to be very, very interesting. But I think the big one for me, and it is the only way I can see Toulouse winning this, is they've got to control Harry Smith. They've got to control his ability to boss a game, and he's been doing that certainly for the last 2 rounds against FC and against Lee. 2 tries, 4 assists, 8 busts, 44 kicks in general play, 29 attacking kicks. He's carried the ball 35 times for 146 metres. They've got to control that. Similarly, don't know why Knights and Wolves is behind that, I do apologise. On the left-hand side there, you've got Cesar Rouge, who, 4 assists from him, 5 busts, 39 kicks in general play, 15 attacking kicks, 26 carries for 84. Rouge is going to have an exceptional game for Toulouse on Saturday evening. And for me, they've got to get up into Harry Smith very quickly, because if they give Harry Smith the space to do his craft, he will destroy them. He's destroyed FC. He destroyed Lee. He's in incredible form. He was in our team of the month. That for me is if you were going to put a battle plan up in the Toulouse dressing room, that would be number one. We've got to stop Harry Smith, Fraser.
Yeah, you would say so. Looking at that, he's not just controlling the game; he's also making a decent amount of meters and getting through the line himself when the opportunity arises. So shutting him down is probably your first port of call. The difficult part when you're playing Wigan is suddenly there's a bigger space out the back for Bevan French or whoever else is there that's going to come railing through. But yes, certainly, especially at the end of sets, you'd want to be trying to limit Harry Smith's kicking straight away, and then obviously you've maybe got a bit more chance of what he can chuck out the back and get them going. If you can get onto him early and shut down that kick and them options, then you have got a chance, haven't you?
100%. I mean, Bazza, the best form of defence is attack. If they are going to put a couple of the youngsters in, Matt Peake be saying, look, lads, let's get on the front foot, because that makes life a lot easier. If they're on the front foot, if they're leading from the front, the best form of defence is attack. If they're on top, it makes it easy for those lads to find the way in there if they are to be put in.
Yeah, it is. We've seen with Wigan of their forwards building the platform for the backs, and I think they're really going to go for this game. I don't think they're going to let anything, take any complacency going into this game. And you're right. I think they're just going to go from minute one and really, really attack that Toulouse line. It's how Toulouse deal with it. But again, you've got to credit Toulouse because their defence has been pretty all right just lately. Going back a couple of weeks, they got in a really good position against Castleford. What I think the worrying thing for Toulouse is they'll get themselves in a good position if they get themselves into score. What I saw in that Castleford game is there was making errors on the back of the kick return after kick-off and really letting teams back in. So they really are going to have to tighten things like that up against Wigan, because Wigan will punish them. It's going to be a good game, and I can only see this game going one way if I'm totally honest, Dave.
Yeah, well, Sylvain Houlez will want a reaction from that Bulls performance. It was very much under par compared to what they served up in weeks 1 and weeks 2. Fraser, give us your prediction for this one.
I've got Wigan by 16, just given the travel, and Toulouse seem to be wanting to make their home ground a bit of a fortress. So you can only imagine they'll steal up to some amount against Wigan.
Bazza?
Without being disrespectful to Toulouse, because they have been a breath of fresh air, I'm going by Wigan 38.
38. Wow, that is a massive win. I mean, I think we're going to snatch your hand off of that. I've gone 22, but that's a big uplift on my 22. But yeah, the smart money would be on Wigan. There's no doubt about it. But as you say, you cannot show any disrespect to these teams that have come up. They are fighting for their lives early doors in the season, and they're doing very well indeed. Right, also on Saturday, the Saints go back home. It's time to renew old rivalries. That's what we put on the trailer, and it is. I mean, look, if anything stirs your emotions from a yesteryear, it's St. Helens and Bradford back in the heyday. How good is it going to be, Fraser, to see these two shirts back on the same field?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting when that comes on the television and both teams come running out on the pitch. It's nice. So I mean, I think we're all enjoying seeing Bradford back in the Super League. I don't think there were many people that said they shouldn't be in here by name. Maybe not the way that they got here, but yeah, everybody now they're here. I think is happy to see the Bulls shirt out there, and they're doing what they should be doing. They're doing the team proud, the fans proud. And yeah, it should be a good battle, I would say, especially in the pack.
Couldn't agree with you more. Bazza, these are the teams that are going to take to the field. We'll start with the home team first and Saints. And again, Saints are doing it tough this season. What's really interesting in the game against Lee is that Paul has got bags of riches at fullback, and he's almost changing it. He can change it during the game. Robertson was. I'm pretty certain Robertson was announced in centre against Lee, and then ended up going into fullback with Nene moving forward. And like I say, not against Lee, sorry. Last week it wasn't Lee, was it? Where am I going?
Dragons.
Going Dragons. Yeah, my apologies. The Dragons. Robertson was starting in centre. Nene at fullback, and he moved it in the game. And again, that. From a defence, the good thing about the versatility of the Saints squad this year is if something's not working, without having to interchange, Paul has got the flexibility to just move the pieces around to see if it freshens it up and he gets a result.
Yeah, and that is always a good thing. But I'm kind of a fan of having the team settled, people settled in the positions. It's handy to move things about due to injury. I'm not a huge fan of it. But if it's working for Paul right now, then great for Paul and great for Saints. But me personally, I'd much prefer to have a settled span. Players settled in the positions. It's not one for me. But still looking at that Saints squad, they're doing it tough with the amount of personnel that they've got out. But it's still a really tidy squad on paper, and I think this could potentially be the game of the weekend if Bradford turn up.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no Jack Wellesby in the squad. There's no Johnny Lomax. He's missing Matty Lees. Of course, they're big absentees. But there's enough quality there. There's no question where St. Helens are concerned. And again, the likes of Dion Cross has been really standing up well. Lewis Murphy also doing well. I mean, Mark Percival's in the squad there, Fraser. Expected to maybe be a week early for him. Of course, the rumours persist that he may be leaving. But I don't see how Paul can afford to lose Mark Percival at the moment with the injury problems that he's got.
No, I wouldn't say they'd be happy to shift him on and lose another squad member until they get some players back. And the way that Paul talks in his interviews, he seems pretty happy to have him around and doesn't want to lean into any of them rumours. So we've got to take what the club says first, and then if he comes out that he leaves down the line, then that will be what it'll be. But you'd expect to have him. I mean, you say it might be a week early, but when he's ready, you'd expect to have him in there on the bench at minimum as an extra cover for his experience. When you look at the squad, it's a little bit different to Wigan. I think you've got young players in there, but they have already proven themselves in more than a handful of games over the last couple of years. So it's not a case of slotting them in there and just saying have a go. They are young players that have been proven, and when they're given a chance in there around the experience, they don't seem to give Saints any sort of negative effects. So yeah, they're doing it tough, but they're not having to slot some really unexperienced people in there, I'd say.
No, absolutely not. And like I say, some of the players that they brought in are really standing up for them. We'll get to one of those in a few moments' time. Bazza, in terms of Bradford, 2 wins out of 3, great start for them this season. And again, the players that they brought in, the likes of Ackers, I mean, Wonga Blake, of course, was our player of the month for February that we announced on Weekly this week, and rightly so, been in incredible form. You know Reeby Duro well. I thought Luke Cooley played well last week. Connor Wynn on the wing, he's looking strong. Ryan Sutton, many people saw that as a gamble, but he's answered those critics very early on. Ethan Reiner, a hat-trick at the weekend. I mean, and then, that's before you get to Easton Masters and the informed Joe Mellor. Saints, I mean, Paul will give all due respect to a man that he knows well, Kurt Haggerty, and the former players of his that are in this squad. Paul, in his press conference, taking nothing for granted, he knows that Saints have got a tough afternoon in progress here.
Yeah, he really does. And again, he knows Kurt Haggerty well and how Kurt Haggerty will like to play because, he's got a very, very good rugby brain. I feel like Paul could be a little bit under pressure in this game because both coaches know each other inside out, know how they like to play. I feel like Kurt Haggerty could actually have the upper hand in this because we've seen what he's done so far in 2026 by unlocking the better version of the likes of Andy Ackers and whatnot, and more noticeably Wonga Blake. So I think this is going to be an absolutely fascinating tie because everyone's talking about St Helens, and I think that's just purely the name that could frighten a lot of newly promoted teams. But I don't think Bradford will go into this fearing anything because they've got experience and quality across the park. The likes of Rowan Mills, who's been a breath of fresh air for Bradford this year, who's controlling things well across the line and kicking well. Easton Masters as well. He's got strike rate on the edges. So it's going to be a great game. And again, another one who's had a point to prove we could go at this all day is Connor Wynn. He's really re-exerted his career at Bradford and he's looking an handy prospect for him. So I think it's going to be a really, really good game, this one.
Should be a phenomenal game. And, of course, the key matchup for me is the Battle of the Joes, the two Joes that are on fire, Mellor and Shorrocks. Mellor pipping Shorrocks to our team of the month, and you'll see why from this graphic, and I'll walk through it for the podcasters. Shorrocks 1 try this year to Mellor's 2. Tackles, both from incredible. Shorrocks 155 with a 95% efficiency. Mellor 162, 97% efficiency. Absolutely superb. Incredible performances. Bus 4 for Shorrocks, 10 for Mellor. Breaks 1 for Shorrocks, 3 for Mellor. Carries of the ball, 33 for Shorrocks, making 154 metres. Joe Mellor, 47 times he's had the hand on the ball. He really is in that engine room for Bradford. Where would they be without him this season? And he's made 139 metres. Fraser, without doubt, two of the most informed 13s in the comp.
Yeah, and two players that nobody would have probably been talking about on the run up to this season in terms of expectations. So really well done to them too. I mean, you look at them stats and more so for the newer teams, it's probably the kind of stuff that they've sat down and said, this is the stuff we need to focus on, the hard-working, tough bits of rugby. And if we don't go away from that, we're going to maybe find ourselves able to clinch a few games towards the end. I can't imagine Bulls, similar to any of the other new teams, have sat there and talked about or expected many blowouts, and we don't expect them to give many blowouts. But if they get this tough stuff, the tackle efficiency right, then they're going to be there or thereabouts at end of games and hopefully take some opportunities, which Bradford have shown they can do.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And Bazza, for me, if there was a player that had say pressure on him, you can't replace Morgan Knowles. Certainly not the Morgan Knowles of 2025. You can't replace that. So for Joe Shorrocks to go in, all eyes would have been on him. And I'd expect there'd have been a few murmurs on the first team sheet when you see that Joe Shorrocks is your new number 13. But very, very quickly, he's won the hearts and minds of the Saints fans. And I'm delighted for him. He's been incredible, hasn't he?
It really has, because he's just been a reliable workhorse, and he's showing that true grit, fighting for the badge and digging deep. Especially in tough times when things aren't quite going your way. So, and that's what you want out your 13, just to stabilise that middle unit. And they're getting that with him. Yeah, he's not Morgan Knowles, but I tell you what, I could think of worse replacements. He's proven a lot of people wrong. And we saw his loyalties last year at Salford, which will go a long way. He's an hard work, honest guy. So if you keep him fit, it'll keep that middle unit at St Helens quite steady.
He was exceptional for Salford as well last year. All right, let's get into the predictions. Fraser, which way are you going, and by how many?
I've got Saints by 16. I won't be surprised if Bulls go in up at half time, I just think Saints might have a bit too much strength as the game prolongs.
Fair play, Baz.
Bradford by 4.
Ooh, that's a big one. That's a big call.
That's purely because I from what I've seen from Bradford this year, they fear absolutely nobody, and they'll be licking their lips going into this game. They will be looking for it.
If that comes true, that is going to send shockwaves through round number 4. That is already the upset of the round, but there's still other games to talk about. That's the upset of the round from Bazza Kingston. You heard it here first. I'm going Saints by 14. I think it's going to be close for about an hour, and I just think Saints might just get a few. So slightly under Fraser. But yeah, I'm going 14. Right, let's quickly turn to the Prediction League. And congratulations to Volstagg. St. Helens, he leads the Prediction League after 3 rounds, 19.75 points. Underneath him, Danny South, Trinity fan, 19.5. Daniel Mulcrow, Leopards fan, he's 18.5. Ed Firth, St. Helens fan, 18 points. And Nigel Thompson, Wire fan, 17 points. Player of the round and joint 5th, our very own Fraser Howard, who's on the podcast. 75 places in a week. Wonderful stuff. Well done to Fraser. I'll tell you now, mate, you might want to consider doing your predictions this week when you're a few down, because I'm sure that's where you were last week in Vegas. If you want to be a part of the Super League Raw Prediction League, then go over to Super Brew. It's very easy to play. Find the Super League Raw League, ask to be included, and get involved. Volstagg, I will be in touch with your spot prize and spot prizes for the Prediction League this year. And yours will be on its way to you. It's a good one as well. But I won't spoil it for you. It'll be on its way very, very shortly. Right. Knights against the Wolves. Friday night. Friend versus friend. Foe versus foe. Paul Vaughan, who's been in incredible form, goes up against his former club, the Warrington Wolves. And no real surprises, gentlemen, that it is Vaughan that is featured on the team sheet for this one alongside Kalepi Tanginoa. We'll start, Fraser, with Warrington. For the first time probably in a long time, Sam Burgess is able to name the same 21-man squad. He has resisted the urge to bring Matty Ashton back and has gone like for the Wakefield team. And that must be really pleasing for the coaching staff at Warrington.
Yeah, I can imagine it is. I mean, I did notice that when the squad was released that it was the same. And I mean, feel for Ashton a little bit. Obviously, such a great player, but he's got a lot of time to come. So and there's a long season ahead. So I'm sure he'll get his opportunity again. But especially going in against York, that have proven they can steal up against good opposition, having the momentum and a solid team that's played well the week before can only be a good thing, you'd say.
Absolutely. And Bazza, it's fair to say it's early days for Warrington, but to have got 2 from 2 again, like KR, this is round number 3 from them. If they can go to a very spirited and strong-looking York side who have been playing very, very well indeed, it will be another good move in the right direction for Warrington in terms of their attack on 26.
Yeah, 100%. And from a Warrington perspective, this has got to be, you've got to be very, very happy with where you are right now with the start to 2026 after the 2025 campaign. There was a lot of Wire fans was kind of worried about the first few rounds, but I think going into this, I think the way Warrington have started this year, I can see this only going one way. But I would not be surprised of an upset because it's at the LNER and York know how to ruffle feathers, and I've seen that firsthand with myself with OKR. But I think Warrington have just got too much experience across the park, and the forward pack's been brilliant for you this year, and we're seeing a better version of Mark Sneed for Warrington. His kicking's been impeccable, and that I think that's a benefit of having a pre-season with the Warrington Wolves. And I feel like Warrington again, very much like the Wigan, they're going about the business very quietly. A little bit under the radar, but they're getting the job done. And Cartaylor, what a guy, what a fullback. Is it too soon for him to be up for the young player of the year? Sorry,
I think it probably is in the same way that I feel. If I go back to Wigan, I really do feel for Jay Field. He's been in man of steel form in the first 3 rounds, and of course the fact that he's going to miss a chunk dents those prospects a little, but it's still very, very early days. I mean, Hingano once again is in the squad list. I'll be there tomorrow night at York. Looking forward to that. And there's a part of me that would like to see him play. I was very impressed with him in the first game. But, of course, I thought Danny Richardson really stood up well last week. Great player. I had the privilege of watching Danny in the opening round at Huddersfield last year where he was out there on loan and did really, really well. Danny, for me, one of those players that when you put him in, very seldom does he let you down. That's a headache, with Harris and Garno and the way Richardson played last week, Fraser. That's going to be a tough call for Mark.
Yeah, it will be. I think Mark's got tough calls quite most weeks because although they're maybe not littered with massive names, they've got a few. They seem to have built a squad on players that are consistent. They all just seem to work at a nice consistent rate, and just go about the business. And it maybe not get them top of the league at the end of the season, but a team that can all play consistently well, and as a team, they're going to pick up a considerable amount of wins. And I don't think Warrington will be going to this lightly at all.
No, neither do I. And Madge himself, Mark Applegarth, he's looking forward to it. I caught up with him earlier in the week. Here we go.
He's everything that I thought he'd be. Obviously, he's a high-level performer, but more importantly, I found him a very good person. No ego on him. He's one of the first to my office every morning and the post-match, asking what he needs to work on, what he needs to improve on. Drives a certain standard out in training. Holds a certain standard within himself. And if you go on about marquee signings as Paul is, and what you want from them statement signings, he's everything that we thought he'd be from a York perspective.
Do you foresee him staying at the club, for a few years?
I don't know. That's one for Paul, isn't it? I'm just going to enjoy him while he's here. I think he signed a 2-year deal, if I remember rightly. I'd have to ask Clint on that one, but whenever Paul's at the club, I really enjoy working with him. I think he's a fantastic person, obviously a fantastic player. His record shows that, and I'm just enjoying working with him while we can. And whether that's 2-year or it's more, that'll be up to Paul and the club to decide. But wherever he is here, I just really enjoy working with him.
Thank you, Mark. Good luck on Friday.
Thank you. David.
Hi, Mark. You okay?
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Look forward to seeing you about the weekend. In terms of Warrington as a team, like last year, defence and attack, they had real issues. I know it's only 2 games in, but it does appear that this is more a 2024 version of Warrington as opposed to 25. Have you been impressed with the way in which they've gone about the business in the first 2 games?
Yes, I have, if I'm honest with you. I thought they were really clinical against St Helens. And obviously they had an enforced week off with Hull KR and Leeds playing in that game last week. But I thought they were really impressive against Wakefield. I think the most impressive thing is how patient they were with the territory that they had. What as you do when you're previewing an opposition, I think they've obviously just feel comfy, just building some pressure in opposition's half, and they've got some wonderful players obviously in the squad. But as I say, more importantly, we're looking at where we can counter that and where we can get after Warrington. So yeah, I think Sam will be really happy with how they've started. But Friday's a new week, and we'll be fully looking forward to getting after them.
And coming back to your team, the thing that is really impressing me about York Knights this year, ingredients of good teams are that they turn up for each other, that their attitude's good, that the effort areas are good. And that, for me, is where you've got your 2 wins from, is that they've just been so committed to each other in the 2 games against Hull. You must be delighted with that spirit in the camp.
Yeah, for me, that's the thing that you go chasing as a coach. Listen, if people didn't know the tactics and whatnot, we obviously wouldn't be coaching at the level we're coaching in. I think going after that sort of stuff that you said there, the togetherness, the spirit, and that for me is why I get involved in coaching. I like seeing a group of people form bonds and become friends and take that friendship and that connectivity out onto a field. And I always think that the teams that are more connected, on and off the field, tend to do better on it, don't they? So it's something we do put a lot of focus on. You know, we know that if we want to grind out results this year, we've got to be very connected and show up for one another. And I think in the 2 wins that you've just alluded to there, we've definitely shown that, hasn't it? You know, even going down to that last minute last week when Jordy Thompson's running 40 metres back after playing 80 minutes to make a cover tackle how he did. You know, that's what we want to pride ourselves on. We want to be the best team in the league on them sort of measures. But listen, everyone says that, don't they? And sometimes you've got to go through them sort of games as that to show that you have got it. And I think so far we've shown that we have got it, but we've got to keep on delivering with that, haven't we?
Absolutely, and it's going to be interesting to see if Matty Ashton's back for this one. There has been hints that he may be. I, for one, you know, love me rugby league. Ben Jones Bishop, Matty Ashton. That could be worth the entrance fee alone, couldn't it? Well, it would have been, boys, but it's not happening, so that doesn't matter. But that was me talking to Mark Applegaff before we knew that Matty Ashton wasn't playing. But I'll tell you who is playing, Josh Fulis, and David Nofaluma. We interviewed him as part of Super League Raw Weekly. What an incredible debut he had for the York Knights last week. And he's coming up against Josh Fulis on Friday night. Big age gap between them, 9 years. Josh has played 2 games this season. Nofaluma, of course, just the one for the Knights. 2 tries in that game for Nofaluma. 1 thus far this year for Fulis, but he has got an assist as well. 2 breaks to Fulis' 1. 8 busts to Fulis' 7. Carries 19 in 1 game to Fulis' 21 in 2. And pretty even Stevens with meters. 1-2-9 plays 1-3-2. David Nofaluma, for me, this is a real quality signing for York Knights. I think he's going to be absolutely box office for him. And I'll tell you what, coming down the line, I think in 3 games' time, Warrington play Leeds. Of course, Fulis will come up against Sivo. And I think this is great preparation for Sivo because it's a big unit, he's not Nofaluma as well. So, looking further down the track, Jake might be looking into his future here in terms he's got some big units coming at him, hasn't he, Fraser, in the next few weeks?
Yeah, I think if you look at a lot of wingers are going that way again this year, aren't they? A bit bigger, able to get over the line. Whether that's the new speed they play a ball, and people are expected to have more play of the balls in that final 20. Yeah, I mean it's interesting. You put them stats up, and that's 1 game compared to 2, and they're basically equal. But yeah, Josh is definitely going to learn a thing or two this year. I didn't obviously watch the game being away, but I've seen how much everybody spoke about Nofaluma, is it? Am I saying that right? Yeah, it's he's obviously hit off with the front foot, and you can't imagine him going to take a step back this week at all. So yeah, it's something I'm sure Warrington are going to have to keep an eye on, and Josh is going to have his work cut out.
Really looking forward to going down to the York Knights Stadium. Really am looking forward to this weekend, it has to be said. I'm just looking at the clock. We need to be getting a wriggle on, boys, because the games are kicking off. Sky's kicking off in about half an hour's time. Let's just try and wrap this one up as quickly as we can. In terms of York, Bazza, if York can produce the type of performances that they've been giving up thus far this season, Warrington, again, will be tested in terms of their acumen for the 2026 season, won't they?
They really will, because York are another one to show Super League why they belong there, and they've got some special down in York. It's a wonderful place of the world, and they've got some great personnel. And I think one of the key things for York is Paul Vaughan. I mean, seeing him firsthand against us doing some absolutely massive minutes, and it showed that early Warrington form for York. And if he carries that through the season, I think it'll stand him in good stead. And they've got a great coach in Mark Applegaff. So, if he gets his tactics right, there could be an upset on the cards here. There really, really could. But I personally believe Warrington are going to see this as an opportunity to put a real marker down, a real statement down, and really, really build momentum. Like you alluded to in earlier on in the interview, you're showing signs of 2024, and I think Warrington are going to want to build on that and really put York to the sword.
What number are you giving then?
I'm going Warrington by 24.
Ooh, that's a biggie. Fraser?
I got 14. I think they might just struggle for energy again. York Wire 14. Sorry.
14 for the Wire. I'm going 8 Wire. I'm going to show a lot of respect for Mark
Good,
and I think they've been doing really, really well. And of course, I'm being nice to my host. Let's put it that way. That's by the by. Let's go over to the Leopards Den. What a game! What a game this suddenly is. Lee, after incredible season last season. In fact, incredible since they've returned back to Super League. Suddenly, things not quite right in terms of what's going on in terms of on the field at the moment. For them, I mean, again, another team that is having to do it tough and losing some big personnel. Catalan, for me, we saw him in the opening game of the season against Huddersfield. Oh, do you know what? That spine looks all right. And I have to say, I thought Lewis Dodd was very good against Saints. So we'll go, let's not forget, that game was 6-0 going into that second half. In the second half, they capitulated Catalan. But Lewis Dodd's running the ball really well, I have to say. Really surprising me, Lewis Dodd, in his return to Super League. So, again, we've got to be careful here. Catalan is a new team. It's going to take them time. The same way Lee have brought in a lot of new players as well. It's going to take them time. But again, in the interest of time itself, let's take a look at the squads. And you can see Lee have got some big misses. We know that they're without David Armstrong. Now Bailey Hodgson has gone onto that list. They've got no Yamala Handler, no Edwin Ipape for this one, no Joe Afingawe. I mean, these are big players for them, big game players for them. And all of a sudden, Catalan might smell a bit of blood here.
They will, and do you know, I had high hopes for Lee this year, and they have had the worst possible start with regards to injuries, losing like Joffa and still without David Armstrong, now losing Bailey Hodgson. I think they're going to really struggle. I think my only concern for Lee in this game is they're looking a little bit light in the middle. Don't get me wrong, you've got Gaz O'Brien who'll slot in at full back and he will do a solid job for you. He's Mr. Reliable. I think this is going to be a really tough ask. If there's going to be any time that the League players are gonna need the fans a little bit this game to really try and get them over the line. Edwin and Pape, he's massive loss. So I'd expect to see Liam Owen try and do a full 80. And don't get me wrong, he's a quality player. He's Liam Owen. He was one of the better players for Castleford in the last couple of years. So I'd expect him to do a decent job, but I just fear for Lee with regards to the SARS compared to the Catalan pack. But it's at the LSV, and that is a daunting place to go any given day of the week. So I think this is going to be an intriguing game, and I think going into it, Joel Tompkins will be going into it under a little bit of pressure. So it's going to be a tough one to see which way this one goes. But Lee really look vulnerable at the moment. I think that's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, I mean, Fraser, I think a big loss for the Dragons is, of course, no Ben Garcia, no Julien Busquet, who both of those players, I think, have been incredible servants to the Catalan Dragons. Before I bring you in, just want to basically show you this, which is how these two go head-to-head this year. And this is how tight this game looks all of a sudden when you take into account the personnel that are missing on both sides. Lee, 8 tries to 7 in their favour. The points for this year, just 4 in it. 44 for Leeds, for Lee, 40 for Catalan. Points against, 88 against for Lee, 74 Catalan. The tackle efficiency 1% in it, 91% plays 90 in the Dragons' favour. Missed tackles, the Leopards 178 to Catalan's 123. Tackle bust 98 for the Leopards, 87 for the Dragons. Blind breaks very even. Leopards 9, Dragons 10. Errors 26 for the Leopards, 33 for the Dragons. Penalties 23 for the Leopards, 18 for the Dragons. 1 yellow card thus far this year for the Leopards. In terms of meters, surprisingly, the Dragons are doing better. 3,102 for the Leopards, 3,638 for the Dragons. It's 11th against 12. Lee, as far as the bookies are concerned, are 1-3 favourites for this one, Fraser, as opposed to 12-5 the Catalan Dragons. But on those statistics, Catalan Dragons would probably say, "Are you sure you've got this one right, Mr. Betting Man?" What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like you say, the meters one's one of the most interesting. I maybe wouldn't have thought they'd have been so close on all the others, to be fair, looking at it. But the meters, I mean, take away Garcia and Busquets, you're probably looking 2 of the players that help along the lines of meters that are missing for Catalan. But yeah, I would say, given how Lee were bullied last week, they would be looking at the meters made, and looking at that as a good opportunity for how they're going to get down the field when they play them at the weekend. Given the scoreline and how you alluded to Saints running a bit riot last week, in the second half at Catalan, I'm expecting Tompkins to have got into them a little bit. And I've got this one as the closest game of the weekend, just off the basis of looking at who Lee have got out. Catalan are going to think, well, we need to try and run over them the same as Wigan is, and if we can score a few tries off the back of it, then happy days.
So what are you going?
I've got Catalan by 4.
I've gone Catalan by 6, Bazza.
I've gone Catalan by 6 as well, Dave.
Yeah. I just think that the middle unit, like you say, could be very interesting indeed. And then, of course, managed to get the graphics sorted for the actual show. Trinity at home against FC. Maybe James Bell to make his debut tonight at the for Hull FC. Going to be a big game, this one, between these two sides. Let's take a quick look at the way in which they line up. And again, Bazza, problems for FC. They've got a lot of personnel missing, some key players missing for them. But like I said, the return of Bell could be very, very timely. He's a great, great player, James Bell. He'll be delighted. Will Mr. Cartwright have him back in the fold?
Yeah, it will, and it was a great servant for St Helens. My only concern with having Bell coming back in is match fitness. You know, he's got no minutes under his belt. He's come off the back of yet another injury, which, you know, is another one who's been so unlucky for him. I actually fear for Hull going into this one because they're another team who look so light in the middle. They've had a bit of adversity off the field as well. Amongst all the injuries they've got, it's gonna be a tough night for Hull FC. But I'm sure the fans will travel in numbers and really get behind the boys to try and get them over the line. But James Bell, it could be a miss. I think the one player I have been impressed with in a disappointing start to 2026 for Hull FC is Harvey Hill. I think he's been a breath of fresh air for him in the middle. You know, he's a young prop from Wigan, and you can see that Wigan pedigree in him. Like he's got such a good engine on him, good work ethic, to try and lay a platform. But I can't see this game going any other way than a Wakefield win. And that's no disrespect to my nearest and dearest, but Hull FC are just ravaged with injuries so far, and I just feel like something's not quite right at that club.
Right, fair enough. Give us the number then, in the interest of time.
I'm going to go Wakefield by 8.
By 8. Just before I bring you in, Fraser, you mentioned Harvey Hill there, and lo and behold, you didn't know I was doing this. But yeah, that for me is one of the things I'm really looking forward to watching tonight. I put it on the screen. Hill faces a mountain because, yeah, he's coming up against Mike McMeekin. Again, 9 years difference between the two players. And I think this is going to be a great, great little tussle tonight. Really looking forward to this middle unit battle. Harvey Hill will try this year. Mike McMeekin yet to get one. Tackles, look how close they are. 119 tackles, McMeekin with a 94% efficiency. Harvey Hill, 114, 96%. Couldn't be closer. Busts in Hill's favour. 15-6, incredible. Making 28 carries for 206 metres this season, 37 carries for 183. Harvey Hill, Mr. Kingston, I bow to you, sir. Great shout, great call out. That for me is going to be an incredible, incredible battle. Fraser, over to you. All those things considered, of course, Mason Lino back. I thought Hamlin Yulee against Warrington was incredible. He was absolutely incredible. Fire Tilly will be better with an extra 80 minutes under his legs. What are you thinking? Give us your thoughts on the game and give us your prediction.
Yeah, obviously go back to that graphic shortly. Harvey Hill, I actually thought was a great signing when I seen that come in at the end of the season. He got a few opportunities right at the back end of last season, and I thought he looked real strong in them games, especially in defence. So yeah, I thought that was a great signing, and he's showing that it was. He's obviously got a tough opponent with experience, but I don't think he'll get scared by that. So that's one thing Wakey have got. I think the Lino coming back in is an interesting one because by all accounts Sinfield had a decent game, and I'm not sure how they're looking at the halves and things. That's a bit of an head scratcher for them.
I think Lino comes back. I just don't think he can't play Lino. I think Lino.
I don't disagree, and it's not a bad thing to have them head scratchers as a coach, is it? And yeah, I mean, I watched Instant Reaction, and Stephen was quite happy with the momentum that Wakey have built, and I think this one might be where it starts to click together a bit for them, given FC's few injuries and things. I've got Wakey by 12, just because I think things might click this week.
Yeah, well, I've gone Wakey by 16. I'm going a bit bigger. I think what we saw second half against Warrington, the comeback and the way they went about the business, plus the fact that Lino's back, which gives them a bit more of a solid half-back pairing. I mean, him and Truman have played so much together now that they really are in sync and tandem, and that's no discredit to Jack Sinfield, who I actually think has been very, very good over the last couple of rounds in Lino's absence. But I think Lino comes back tonight, and of course with the attacking potency of the likes of Jowett, etc., who I think is yet to really come alight this season. We know it's in his locker to do so. I think, as you say, tonight could be the night where Wakefield go, right, last year wasn't a one-off, and we're more than capable. Fantastic stuff. Right, it's time for this.
The bets to ignore when predicting the score. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Bet Steph.
Yes, it's time for Bet Steph, of course. This is just for fun. If you're listening to us for the first time, we actually have a strap line. It's the bets to ignore when predicting the score. This is solely for fun. Every week, Bet Steph comes around. Steph seems to think he can get a bit of Wonga, and I don't mean Wonga Blake. Right, this week, this is his accumulator. Wakefield minus 5.5, York Knights plus 14.5. That's incredibly generous. Catalan plus 8.5, Wigan Warriors minus 22.5, Bradford plus 22.5, Leeds Rhinos minus 16.5, and Hull KR minus 18.5. A pound gets you 77 quid. There you go. That's what Steph thinks this week. And then if you fancy a little go at any time try scorer, his picks this week, and I'll just change that so you can see the odds. Lewis Martin, Kai Taylor-Ray, and Innis Senior, all three come in as an anytime try scorer. Then you will be getting back the nice amount as Fraser returns of £9.70. Boys, if you was to bet a pound on Steph's bets, what would happen?
You'd lose a pound, apparently.
Lose a pound, Fraser. You're absolutely spot on. You would lose a pound. That is just for fun. Believe me, those are not coming in. But if they do, he'll remind me of me saying that. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings to an end another brilliant edition of the Captain's Run. Nobody takes you up to the Sky production like Super League Raw does. We're now pretty much approximately 19 minutes out from the Sky production starting. Just enough time for you to go and get that pizza from the delivery man, get your beer from your fridge, sit down, put your telly on full volume, and get ready for round 4 of the Betfred Super League. On behalf of myself, I've really enjoyed the company of Bazza Kingston. Bazza, thanks for coming along today. Appreciate it, mate.
Massively appreciate it, mate.
Top man. And Fraser, is this your debut on Captain's Run?
I believe it is, and it was all my pleasure.
Congratulations, sir. Very well done indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with more Captain's Run next week. Don't forget, over the weekend, lots of instant reactions from around the ground. Final hooter back Monday morning. The ladies' tackle talk back Tuesday morning. And Super League Raw Weekly returns once again at 8 o'clock this Tuesday. Enjoy your rugby league over the weekend. We will. All the best. Bye for now.